And good Sunday morning to you. Welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jay Bird. Well, impeachment has once again grinded Washington, D.C. to a halt, with all eyes on that. But before that got underway, there were a couple of monumental trade bills that finally made their way through Congress. The first phase of the China deal and the USMCA. Here to talk about both of those, representative from the 2nd District here in Arkansas, Representative French Hill. We appreciate you coming in here.
Sure, Jay. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get to it here. I guess we'll start with the China deal. A lot of people, phase one, so we're not all the way there yet with China, but what does this mean here getting into phase one, especially for Arkansas?
Well, first, it's good for both countries, I think, to step back from this escalating trade war that we've been having over the last 2 years. President Trump has tried to use the tariffs as a leverage to bring China to the table, and he's been successful. So first, I'd say it's good for farmers. Before they go into the next crop season, which they're financing right now, January and February, they've got more certainty on prices and markets in China and elsewhere in the world for agricultural products. Secondly, I'd say a key issue is we have to trust but verify.
Yeah.
China has agreed to things before on intellectual property and theft in the 90s during the Clinton administration, and the theft only increased. So my recommendation to the president is this is good. It's a good first step. Let's see how we do on enforcement.
So what are we really trying to look forward to here into a potential phase two? It's kind of what's next for China.
Well, President Trump has left a level of tariffs on China to encourage them back to the table. And I would say it would be broader market opening for more products. In this first phase one deal, we have an intellectual property protection. We say that China is not going to force companies coming to China to take their technology or transfer their technology. And we allow 100% market opening for financial services. So I'd say a phase two deal would be twofold. One, was this deal working? Is the enforcement working? And secondly, more market opening for different kinds of industries to sell directly into China.
And I know, too, the rice was a real big thing, especially for here in Arkansas.
Yeah, this is a good deal for Arkansas. Rice, soybeans, which gets all the publicity, but it's much bigger than that. Plus, China just recently, in the last couple of weeks, dropped their blockage of imports of poultry into China due to the Asian flu issue. That's opened up. At the same time as this agreement, this will be very good for Arkansas poultry exporters.
And when can we start to see some of those effects take place here? Because, I mean, obviously, the farmers are... It's been a rough couple of years for them here in Arkansas. When can they really start to see those residual effects from this deal?
I think they'll see those effects early in 2020. This deal doesn't require approval by anybody. I mean, China needs to honor their commitments to buy manufactured good, American energy, American agriculture, and I think you'll see that here early in the year. But it certainly gives stability to the commodity pricing.
And bringing things closer to home here now. USMCA finally... almost there, just waiting on Canada now, I believe.
That's right, waiting on Canada, which I hope will happen this spring, and then we will have a modernized North American free trade agreement. Nobody outcompetes Americans when they're given the level playing field, and the USMCA creates a better playing field in North America. I think you'll see global businesses move to Canada, the United States, and Mexico to be close to the world's largest market, which is the U.S.
Now, I guess, what is the sort of the ag boom here in the USMCA, because you kind of put the two of these deals together, and it's a big-time agricultural impact, especially for those here in Arkansas.
Right. Well, the biggest change in agriculture in USMCA, I think, is opening Canada's dairy market. The dairy market has always been closed there, the definitions of milk. There's some other activities in ag that are good. So I would consider it a positive for American producers, but particularly dairy producers. They get a new market. Most of our commodities here that are poultry or rice or many of our commodities go to Mexico now. I'd say it's almost status quo there, but it's the certainty. It's the certainty. The real benefits, I think, in the new USMCA are in technology and also in manufacturing, automobile manufacturing particularly. President Trump wanted more of the North American content to be produced in the U.S., and that's what this agreement will help do, particularly in automotives.
All right, let's go bigger stage here. Let's get your take here on the Middle East and the whole Iran thing. Things seem to have settled down for now, but a couple of weeks ago, what did you think of President Trump's tactics in knocking off Soleimani and all that, kind of without congressional approval? I know that sort of became a little bit of a talking point, but were you okay with going after him, even though on the surface, it's like you took out a foreign government official, which would probably give some people a little pause.
Well, you can't consider him a foreign government official and create a moral equivalence between Iran with the United States or the United Kingdom or a European country. Right. This is a terror state. He was a terrorist as designated by the Obama administration, and the Quds Force, the Revolutionary Guard of Iran, is a terror organization. He has systematically been at the heart of killing Americans, not only in Iraq, which has gotten a lot of publicity, but it was Iran behind the Beirut bombing in 1983. This has been going on for decades through their proxy Hezbollah. They back the drama and terror in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen. They back drug cartels in Latin America. Iran is a bad actor, so I supported the president's effort. It took place in Iraq. It took place under threat of American assets and American diplomats, and so I support the effort. And what I hope we'll see now is support of the Iranian people to press their government for changes. You saw them go back into the streets, and you saw the Iranians use Russian anti-ballistic missile technology bought with money freed up by the Iran JCPOA deal in the Obama administration. That was a Russian missile that shot down that Ukrainian aircraft, and it was good to see the Iranian people back in the streets saying, we want transparency, and we want the Iranians to be able to have a country that's part of the family of nations. So President Trump wants them back at the negotiating table. He is not looking for war with Iran. I thought that aspect of the story, Jay, got extremely blown out of proportion and was really exaggerated.
Well, and I think, too, you know, it was kind of a tit for tat, and then Trump actually kind of backed off. Not that that second strike was a whole lot. I think a lot of people said it was more for propaganda purposes, at least on the Iranian side of things. But now, now that I guess we kind of see calmer heads are now prevailing here, that they've upped the sanctions on that. Do you really think going forward here that a lot of that stuff will kind of get Iran to the bargaining table?
I do. Let me tell you why. President Trump showed him a lot of restraint this year. We had an American drone shot down. We had Persian Gulf shipping interdicted, Norwegian vessels, Japanese vessels. We had the Saudi Arabian terminal bombed, all by Soleimani and his Revolutionary Guard assets. We had other killings in the area. We had the unrest and attempted takeover in the Iraqi government by Revolutionary Guards. So President Trump's actually shown restraint when this kind of ramp up. What the Iranians were trying to do is pressure the Europeans not to support the Trump position on the Iranian deal, the JCPOA. And if you noted, after the Soleimani death and the position of Iran, our European allies have now said, yes, Iran has broken the JCPOA. They were not obeying it before. They were not obeying it even when the United States pulled out. So that pressure campaign they operated on, which was a campaign of terror, did not work. So we have now in the position for snapback sanctions under the JCPOA to start. I think that hopefully will bring the Iranians to the table because we have European and Americans on the same page.
And we'll kind of switch gears here. Let's get to some good news here. I know you're presenting some legislation to honor Scipio Jones here in Arkansas. What do you got going on with that?
Yeah, Scipio Jones was probably the most important attorney of the early 20th century. It was Scipio Jones, African-American attorney here in Arkansas, that defended the trumped-up charges, the 12 defendants in the Elaine massacre that we commemorated the horrors of last year in 1919. But Scipio Jones went on in that effort to create a major step in American jurisprudence in the Dempsey case, where the federal government could review local state trial court decisions, and that was a major change. So we're honoring him by having his portrait presented in the Scipio Jones post office here in Little Rock on South Main Street, and I look forward to working on that with my colleagues.
There you go. So we got to mix in a little good news here from the Hill here.
Thank you, Jay.
Great to see you.
We appreciate you coming in here anytime. All right.